Browns in 1955, Luke Rosa and
Oh my
Otter
gosh.
Graham. I was at the game.
Okay, we're on Mem Daled. So if we hold like Rabbi Yezer, who Darish is called to teach me that even b'taruvis, like heter is like he said that even less than a kazayas of Saor by Bal Taktiru, it's Aser because he learns it out from Kol. So he hachli in Chametz with Pesach Nami. That heter will be mitzraf le'Isser as well regarding Chametz with Pesach and as well other Isrim in the Torah. The Gemara says Eina Chanami, according to Rabbi Yezer, he holds that. And we want Lafukim and Abaya. The Omer Yeshak Torah Lepachas Mikazayis. Abaya learns that even if you put less than the kazayas of Saor on the Mizbeach, you get malchus for it. That we don't hold like that. Dr. Lav Lepachas Mikazayis is not, you don't get malchus for that. And in fact, that's how we paskin. Also, Laktir Af Mashur Sral Mizbeach, Vamaktir Kazayis Loke, Shein Aktar Lepachas Mikazayis. We go like Rava, not like Abaya, that you need to at least, to get malchus, you need to put a kazayis. So Yosef Rav Dimi v'Kormalai Shmaitza. Rav Dimi learned this sugya. Omer le'abayil Rav Dimi v'chol yisurim shebetorah neheter mitzraf le'isur. What other yisurim in the Torah like chaylev and nevela and orla and all of the other prohibitions that let's say you have a half a kazayas of isur and a half a kazayas of heter that it's not mitzaref. I'll show you that they are mitzaref, but not hamikvah shel truma. You have a soup made out of truma. And the shemen shel chulin, the garlic and the oil is chulin. The naga tvul yom b'miksasan, right? A tvul yom is somebody went to the mikveh. Either he was tamei sheretz, tamei nevela, he went to the mikveh, or in the seventh day of Tumas Meis, he goes to the mikveh. At that point, he can eat meiser. He can't eat truma until nightfall. Now, if he touches, even if he only touches part of it, the truma was ikr, right? The soup was the truma, and the spices were tofel, were just a minority. And it's for yom pasul's truma. So even if he doesn't touch the whole, he just touches a part of it, pasul is chulan. However, hamikvah shel chulan, if the soup was chulan, vashum vashemel shel truma, and the spice and the garlic and the oil was truma, the naga tvuyam b'miksasu, and a tvuyam touches part of it. Lo pasal elamakam maga bilvad. He only pasals where he touched. The avinam bam, and we analyze makam magoa my psula. Why is the place where he touches pasal? Habat lehu tavlin barov. When you have the spices are truma, but you clearly have bittul barov. Mida raisa, certainly it's bottle, right? The Rabbanan might require 60 or 100, but midaraisa it's bottle. So why should the truma be possible if it's William touched it? Amar Rav Bar Chana. Matam. What do you mean? What do you mean? What's the reason? Hoil v'zar loika land bekazayis. Because a non-Kohen, if he eats a kazayis l'chura of this mixture, he will get malchus. Now, how does that work? That even though you have less than the kazayis of truma, the heter soup, right, the chulin soup will be mitzraf le'isur. So that's why Abai wanted to show that you see heter will be mitzraf to isur by other isur. So Gemara says no, that's not a proof. Look, my kazayis, the ikek kazayis b'chtei achilas pras. If you ate a whole volume of this within a 9.5 minute period, that's called b'chtei achilas pras, and you consume the kazayis of the spices of truma when you ate a huge amount, then you get malchus. Freit the Gemara of the kazayis b'chtei achilas pras d'oraisa is eating a kazayis over a 9.5 minute period. Is that a d'oraisa? Amar in. Yes, it's mid'oraisa that will fulfill achiva, and you'd be chayiv, say, for prohibition. And for example, by matzah, eating matzah over a kazayis matzah over b'chtei achilas pras will also give you the mitzvah. And that's how we paskin in our Torah, that you get malchus as if the Rambam paskins there and Sefer Kedusha, Hilchos Makolos Asuros, Perak Yudalid, that eating a kazayis b'chtei achilas pras would give you malchus. You don't have to sit there and eat a kazayis in one shot. If you ate the kazayis of nevela or a chaylev over a 9-hour period, you nibbled till you had the kazayis, then you'd also get malchus. Why did Rabbanan argue by kutach habavli? Right? The Rabbi Eliezer said that a mixture of the mayonnaise where it's dipped, there's some bread in there and vinegar, right? And he said you get malchus for eating the taruf. Now Chacham disagreed. We don't. There is no by taruf is chometz and onish min Torah. But based on this, what the Chacham shouldn't argue. Elamai. So what are you going to tell me, Mushim, to have to mitzvah isser? That the reason over there is not the b'chtei achilas pras business, that you're going to eat the kazayas over a 9.5 years. No. It means you have a small amount of the isser, but the amount of heter is mitzvah. Again, so for my plea, there as well, you should use heter mitzvah for the same reason. Yet the chachamim are matir there. So elahanach l'kuta bavavli, let's make kazayas b'chtei achilas pras. Kuta chabavli is mayonnaise. It's a dip. Nobody's going to sit there and eat a whole jar of mayonnaise so that the little bit of spices that are in there, you're going to end up eating kazayis b'chtei. That's not how people eat it. It might take you a month to finish the kuta chabavli. There is no such thing as kazayis b'chtei achilas pras by kuta chabavli. Because and if you can eat it be'en, the way it is, the kasar for ka'achalei batla daiteitzel kolada. Most people can't eat such a harif thing in one shot, and we go according to the majority of people. The majority of people can't eat something so spicy and so fast. And if he's going to dip his food in the kutach, less bekazayis b'chtei achilas pras, he's never going to eat enough that will accumulate a kazayis b'chtei achilas pras. Okay. So Esvei, Abai is going to ask another question from a famous case we've had before, Shtei Kderos, 2 pots. Achad shel chun v'achad shel truma. One of the pots of chun, one of the pots of truma. V'lifnei shtei maduchos. In front of each pot is a grinding, like a mortar and pestle. Achad shel chun v'achad shel truma. One of them is chun, one is truma. And the maduchos fell in. One fell into one pot, one fell into the other pot. We say mutar. It's a special leniency. Shani omer truma l'tachat truma nafla, b'chulin l'tach chulin naflu. So of course a Kohen can eat the truma, and a Yisrael can eat the chulin. Why aren't we worried that the truma fell into the chulin? If a zar eats it, if the truma is deraisa, then we have a principle suffix deraisa l'chulin, we should not eat it, right? And because I b'chtei achilas pras deraisa, and if I eat enough of it, even though it's a mixture, I'm going to end up eating a kazayas and it's doraisa. So then why do we come up with this heter? That the truma fell into the truma, the chulin fell into the chulin. Well, how can we be so lenient? Oh, and for the Gemara, hanach letruma tavlin the rabbana. Right? The maducha are spices. So we say there are spices of truma. Spices of truma. Truma midoraisa is only from grain. Truma and tavlin is midrabanan. So in chanami, safek drabanan we go lakula. That's why we can rely on shani omer. Okay, so let's forget about a case of spice. Let's talk about grain. Esvei, shtei kupos. You have 2 baskets. Achad shel chun v'achad shel truma. They have grain. 1 truma, 1 chulin. V'lifneim shtei soy, and then you have a big saw, a bigger container in front of these small baskets. We come around, we see both baskets are empty, they fell into the saw. So again, we have a suffix. We say mutar. Kohanim can eat the truma one. Non-Kohanim can eat the chulin one. Fake the more why? We don't have to worry that the truma fell into the chulin. We say the chulin fell into the chulin, the truma fell into the truma. Truma fell into the truma. Well, wants to know why? If the concept of eating a mixture, but you eat enough of it, and eventually you eat a kazayis, you're going to get malchus midoraisa, so then the din is midoraisa, and truma of grain is doraisa. You can't rely here on the teretz that we said before, that spices, truma is only midrabana. Here is, we're talking about doraisa. So suffix doraisa is lechunu, we should not be matir. Amar lei, hanich letruma bizman azed rabbanon. Says the Shulchan Aruch, we're going to be dealing with this extensively in the Tzurim Rabbanon Shiurim soon, in terms of Truma and Meiser Bizman Hazeh. The Shulchan Aruch says Truma Bizman Hazeh ein el midivrei chachamim bilvad, even in Eretz Yisrael. She'ein Truma min haTorah ela be'Eretz Yisrael uvizman shekol Yisrael sham. If the majority, if you have 51% of Jews in the world living in Eretz Yisrael, then the halacha will change, and truma bizman hazeh will be doraisa. We've had a few examples of where the halacha will change when the majority of Klal Yisrael will live in the land of Israel. But up until then, truma, certainly b'chutz la'aretz, and certainly and even according to those poskim that hold truma bizman hazeh is doraisa, when they came back with Ezra by Bavel, they weren't makadesh all areas of Eretz Yisrael. Certainly, those areas were also bisman hazeh midrabanan. But the Shulchan Aruch paskins that bisman hazeh truma be'Eretz Yisrael is also midrabanan only. Now, truma drabanan is truma drabanan, still truma. Just the various dinim, like if it's a suffix, and we can go suffix drabanan lakula, as opposed to if it was deraisa, we'd have to say suffix deraisa lachumra. So it affects the halacha because it's only rabbinic and it's not midorais. Okay. So we learned yesterday that by a nazir, when it says if you soak grapes in water, mishras, so the nazir there, it's mitzaref isser with heter, even though you don't have a full kazayas of isser, the heter will be mitzaref with the isser. Hi, Mishras Lahachi Udasa. Does the Mishras come to teach me that? We need Mishras for another limud. Mishras to teach me the famous principle litin tam ke'ikr. So we've already learned that you have you have milk that falls into meat, into a chulent, and there's only 30 times amount of chulent to the milk. And the milk gets dissolved, but the taste of the milk is there because Chachamim said anything that is less than 60, you can't taste. Excuse me, if it's 60 to 1, you can't taste it. But less than 60, you can taste it. And we have a principle, tam ke'ikr. Or another case, you have a piece of chaylev that fell into a chulent, less than 30, less than 60. You remove the chaylev. The chulent is osir because the tam of the chaylev went in and it's not 60 enough to bottle. Tam is as if the chaylev was there as well. Like Rashi says, Lasa is tamashal iser ki ikor mamish. It's as if you have the chaylev in there, but you don't need the chaylev in there. The tam of the chaylev is enough. So we learn that from Mishras, that if you soak grapes in water, and you take the grapes out, and the water has the taste of the grapes, it's usher as well. It's as if the nozer has to stay away from the water as well. If you soak the grapes in water, it has the taste of grapes, chai, and he eats a kazayas of that, he's chayiv, he's going to get malchus. Mikan, from this limud of Mishras by Nazir, atadam l'chol haTorah kula. We learn all the prohibitions. chelev, nevela, shrotzim, klaye, orla, everything. Like this. Uman nazir she'en isro olam. So first of all, stam naziris is shloshim yom, 30 days. It's not a permanent prohibition. The prohibition by the nazir is going to go away in 30 days. Ve'en isro ana. He cannot eat the grapes, but he can benefit from them. And yesh heter li'isuro. Even the prohibition as a nazir can be undone. He can go to a chacham and ask the chacham to be matir neder. So these are all leniencies. Yet, asa botam ke'ikr, the Torah said that that you don't need the grapes in there. Even the flavor of the grapes will convey isser to the water. So kloyim, that you plant klayakerem, grapes and wheat, she'isuro isur olam. There's no that prohibition remains forever. The isuro isurana, and it's asrbana. The ain heter so there's no way to be undo it. Eino din sheyasa tam ke'ikr. Then certainly, if the lenient nazir case says tam ke'ikr, then certainly here it should be tam ke'ikr. V'hu adin la'orla b'shtayim. Now orla, the Kal V'chomer works. It's asrbana, and the fruit of the first 3 years, there's never a way to be matir that. Now, there's not a permanent prohibition because after the 3rd year, you're allowed to eat from the tree. But 2 of it, at least it has. So what do you need? So how can you tell me? You want to use Mishras to teach me Isser, that enters Mitzraf Isser. We need Mishras to teach me the din of Tam Ke'ikr. Which says, Hamani Rabbanon. It's the Rabbanon who need this pasuk to teach me Tam Ke'ikr. The Rabbanon who argue with Rabbi Kiva by Heter Mitzraf Isser. We'll see what this machlokus is all about. Rabbi Yochanan the Amar Rabbi Kiva. Because the Chachamim argue with Rabbi Kiva, the Rabbanon, and Rabbi Yochanan holds like Rabbi Kiva. Now, hey, Rabbi Kiva, what Rabbi Kiva we talk about? Elaim Rabbi Kiva de Masnisen, the Rabbi Kiva of the Mishnah, this not. Rabbi Kiva Oimer, Nazir Sheshar Pito B'Yayin. Nazir soaked his bread in wine. And there's enough, the bread with the wine, Yesh Bol Etzarv Kedei Kazai Chai. Umimai Demi Pasu Miyai. Now, who says that there was a combination to make a kazai's bread and wine? Maybe Dilma Miyayin Lechude. Maybe he had a kazai's yayin. I mean, what would be the chiddush of that? We already know that. Hakamash B'lan, that no, because maybe we would be teaching the Afagav the Taruvis, that even though it's a combination, it's not be'en, it's absorbed in the pot, that there's an isser. So it's not, so this Rabbi Kiva is not the one we're looking for. El Rabbi Kiva de Baraisa. It's a Rabbi Kiva of the Baraisa, the time. Rabbi Kiva Oimer, Nazir Sheshar Pita B'Yayin. A Nazir soaked his bread in wine. And he ate a kazayas combination of pas and chay. So this is the Rabbanon who argue with Rabbi Yochanan, who holds like Rabbi Kiva that heter is mitzraf le'isr. Rabbi Kiva, so fine. If Rabbi Kiva learns it from here, Tam Ke'ikr min Oleh. Where does Rabbi Kiva learn the din of Tam Ke'ikr? So Rabbi Kiva learns it from a different place. Mi basar b'chol. Because lav time about amalu, when you mix bas, you mix, all you're mixing is taste. You added some meat to milk, you soaked, let's say, a piece of meat in milk, and it has the flavor of the milk. The milk is not there. It's only the flavor there. You wash it off, but there's a flavor there, and we say it's usher. So lav time about amalu, it's only taste. The asur. So by all other cases, it's no different. The time is all you need. How do the Rabbanon who learns it from Mishras, what do they say about Basar B'Cholav? Because you can't learn from Basar B'Cholav to other Isurim. The Basar B'Cholav lo gamina and the Chidushu. The whole Isser of Basar B'cholav is a novelty. We don't see it by other Isurim. So therefore, the Chumras we don't learn to other Isurim. My Chidushe. Now, what's the Chidush of Basar B'cholav? What's the novelty? So you drink a glass of milk, it's permitted. You eat a piece of meat, it's permitted. Milk and meat by themselves are permitted items. And then you mix them and it's prohibited. So that's the chidush. That's why you can't learn the concept of tam kikar from Basar B'cholav to other isurim. So kloyim nami, planting wheat and grapes, same thing. Eating wheat by itself, eating grapes by itself is permitted. So you see, there's other examples, not a chidush. So the Gemara says there's another reason for the chidush. So we've learned, those of us in the Tzur Rabbanon, I think it's most of us here, know that you need heat to transfer Basar B'cholav. They've got to be hot. Right? We've learned if you take a piece of cold steak, you put it on a milichtik plate that's cold, it's okay. I got this raw hadocha. You just wash it off. There's no transfer. So if you take a piece of meat, you soak it in milk a whole day. Same thing, you just wash it off. But bashale bishule aser. But if you cook it together, it's aser. So that's the chidush. So if you're going to tell me that Rabbi Kiva nami Basar B'cholav had a chidushu, so you told me Rabbi Kiva is going to learn from Basar B'cholav to all shari Yisur and b'toyra. But Rabbi Kiva can't deny that there's a chidush by Basar B'cholav. How can you learn the din of tam ki'ikr to other Yisurim? Ella, rather, Rabbi Kiva learns it from somewhere else. Yolif migi'ule nachrin, a pot that the goyim cooked food in. And then if a Jew buys a pot from a nachri and cooks in there, so it's going to be usher because there's a bliya within the wall of the pot, which will go into the food of the Yisrael. And when they fought against Midian, they were told that all the pots that you took from Midian, you have to put in a fire. That's kabolach kapot. You have to kasher all of it. And there was no food in those pots. It was just the time of the food, just the taste. Right? Gilei Nochrim lav time of alma. It's only taste ve'aser. So hachanami by other shari surim loshna. Now the Rabbanon who learned that time kicker from Mishras, why don't they learn it out from Gilei Nochrim? Because Gilei Nochrim nami chidushu. Because the non-kosher pots of goyim is a chidush. Because the hakol noisim tam we've got mutter. We've learned that even if you have a bliya, even if you have a prohibited flavor in a pot, beyond 24 hours, it doesn't give a good flavor. And it doesn't confer an isser. So, and because the gamrina mean in vela, because it says lo sochlu kol nevela garui leger koi nevela anyway leger in a koi nevela v'hacha aser. Now the kalim that they got from Midian were clearly they didn't cook the food in the same day. It at least had to be one night, and yet they asered, and therefore it was nois and tam livgam. Yet they said it's prohibited, so that's the chidush. But Rabbi Kiva doesn't learn like the Chacham. In fact, over there in Parshas Bamidbar, in Parshas Matos Masei, where we see the Mechemes Midyan, the Torah only answered the pot, the goyish pot, only for the 24 hours. A pot that had been used within 24 hours. Beyond it, it's nois and tam livgam, and the Torah didn't answer that. So but the first day is lav nois and tam livgamu, so it's not a chidush, and therefore could be learned to other isurim. But the Chachamim Rabbanan who hold that there's a chidush here because they hold that it's even beyond 24 hours. Couldn't learn it from it; they had to learn it from Mishras. Rabbanan kidei Rabbas Yom Nami lo yafshad lo yipagma pointa. The Rabbanan learned that even a pot of the same day that there had to be some bad flavor in there that would also prevent it from asering. And yet the Torah asered even on the first day. So we see from the debate between Rabbanon, we know what Rabbi Kiva was. Milo Ami Rabbanon, Mishras, Rabbanon learned that the word Mishras, litin tam ki'ikr, that all you got to do is soak the grapes in water, you remove the grapes, the tam is there. It's as if the grapes were there. The Nazir can't drink it, he gets malchus. Therefore, the principle of tam ki'ikr we learn to all other Yisurim Shabbatorah as well. The Vela, Chayla, of everything. So Rabbi Kiva Nami Mishras, Lehetem and Starfli Isser. Remember, Rabbi Kiva is learning Mishras that you take a piece of bread that was soaked in wine, and if the combination of the two gives you a kazayas, you can get malchus for that. And therefore, Mikanat as well. And maybe you could say that heter will be mitzvah Isser by all other prohibitions. Yet we know it's not so. There's a reason why we don't learn that drasha to other Isurim. Because and this we will continue Mitzvah Hashem tomorrow.